Hi, Chastity.
Hi, Taylor.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you in your new digs?
I am in my new dig.
Yay!
City girl, city living.
Ooh. Well, we are supposed to have May with us, everybody, but she's having some technical difficulties, so we're just going to go ahead and start talking about cocktails and wait for her to jump on and join us. So it is. What's your temperature like there? Because I'm having a weird summer. What are you guys having?
It's a nice day today, actually. Let me see what the temperature is actually. I just came from outside. It's 55, so it's like perfect temperature.
Oh, wow.
That's how I love it. I love it at 75 in Chicago.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Yeah, yes. That's what we're having. We haven't really had like a super hot day yet. We've been swimming at the lake twice, but it's pretty chilly, so you got to let yourself get real heated up first.
This is a bit of a cool down because we've been in the high 80s and low 90s for a couple of weeks now.
Oh, gosh. Well, I don't know about you, but I definitely change everything I want to eat and drink every season.
Yep.
So we all decided to put together a summery cocktail for tonight's show. So what are you drinking? What'd you come up with?
I'm drinking, so for our perfect weather today, I'm drinking like a whiskey spritz.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's Uncle Nearest. I'm drinking 1856 with a half ounce of Aperol and soda from a company called Hella Bitters.
Oh, I love Hella.
Yeah, Hella Bitters is three very diverse company. Three gentlemen own the company, and they sent me some stuff last week, some bitters and some sodas, and this is their aromatic spritz. This is very nice. I like it.
Oh, yum.
So, very similar to a Aperol spritz, but with some whiskey. And
I love it.
Just to make it a little less alcohol.
I love it. And I can't wait to taste their sodas. I don't think we have them here yet, but I'm going to look for them because I love their bitters. Yeah. Hi, May.
Well, hello, ladies. Sorry for my late entrance. I was being fashionably late. You know how it
is. Of course. We were talking about our weather since I'm in the PNW. May is in LA and Chastity's in Chicago. May, what's your weather like there?
Believe it or not, it's actually humid in LA. I think it's because the world is ending and that never happened.
Sure.
So it's been very sticky, but really nice sunshine. So, it's like, it's summer. It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't had summer yet. We're still in spring. So hopefully we haven't even pulled the air conditioning out yet. So pray for us that we get some summer. So we were talking about how your palate changes, depending, and certainly for me. So what cocktail did you come up with for this type of weather, May?
Well, the last time I was with you ladies, I was missing France. And now I'm missing Spain. So I decided to make a cocktail that has a Spanish influence on it. It's called the Avión because that's plain in Spanish. And it's basically a play on a modern classic, the paper plane. And instead, what I decided to do was make this beautiful color concoction with Uncle Nearest 1884, which is our small batch. Oloroso sherry, so that's going to be the nice Spanish influence instead of Amaro di Nonino, and then also Aperol and what else? Oh my God, I'm blanking. I think I've had too many. I'm so sorry.
I had to write mine down. I was like, I'm going to forget.
Start from the beginning. I'm a small girl. I'm drinking 93 proof whiskey. Forgive me. It's really tasty though. So we're sorry. So Uncle Nearest 1884, 2 ounces of that. Some Listal Oloroso sherry.
Yum.
Also some Aperol. I did put some blood orange in here because I wanted the color. And then also a touch of lemon juice because I needed a little bit more acidity because blood orange doesn't really have a lot of acidity.
Yeah. So it's weird.
It's right here. So the recipe is posted on my Instagram post. and it's quite delicious. And so this is my Spanish take, the avion on the paper plane.
I love it. So Kate is with us. Hi, Kate. And she said, Chastity's cocktail sounds delicious. And apparently May delivered one of her cocktails to Kate. And she said, it's so good. I am jealous. I want one.
And Kate used to live in Spain. So, we share.
Me too. So that makes me very excited.
Oh, y'all fancy living in Spain, huh? Love it. What are you drinking, Sailor?
So for me, I'm kind of sticking with like the earthy mountain theme because I live in the mountains, and since we've been home so much, we've really been focused on like making our backyard a sanctuary because it's really the only place we can go. So I wanted to do berries, and I made this cocktail called a Berry Good Cocktail, and it's this on this week's menu for the PNW. So I use raspberry tea because I adore raspberry tea so much, and I use Uncle Near's 1884. And for myself, I skip the strawberries because I'm deathly allergic. We don't want Sailor to have strawberries. No. So, but when I make it for other people, I do strawberries, blueberries, and raspberries, and I muddle them. And then I made blueberry bitters, which came out better than I thought they would. They're really delicious. And then I make a little tincture out of sweet lemon thyme.
Okay.
And then I just top it with a little bit of soda. And it's just, and I dropped some berries in there and a little bit of a thyme leaf, thyme sprig, just to give it that earthiness. But me too, I wanted that spritzy feeling because it is warm enough. And I'm like, okay, come on, summer. I love spritzes in the summer. I will just live on, anything that's effervescent in the summer. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Cheers. Raise those glasses.
Yes. Cheers. Ching, ching. And Kenneth is asking for the recipes. We'll go ahead and post all of the recipes on the Uncle Near's Facebook page when the show is over. So head over there when we're done and you can get those recipes. I have to be careful because, this thing is powerful too.
Yeah. You know how they sneak up on you, especially like the summer, spring cocktails?
Yes.
Right? Because it's always used with like really beautiful fruits and herbs and syrups or like effervescent like ginger beers or sodas and mineral waters. And then it's like you're 2-3 in and you're like, I don't understand why my balance wasn't as good.
Exactly. I'm not spinning, you're spinning.
We're all spinning. We're all fine.
Oh, too funny.
Oh my God. So before we came on live, we were saying there's a lot going on in the world, which is an understatement. Oh God. I've seen some of these really funny, these funny posts on Facebook that's like, it like detailing all of the things that have happened since the start of 2020, like in a funny way. And you kind of need to read it that way. Otherwise you'll run screaming through the hills. And so we've been doing a lot of extra work here at Uncle Nearest to talk publicly about diversity and inclusion and equity. And we started this discussion a couple weeks ago, and we're continuing it tonight. And we're going to speak frankly because that's what Whiskey Women do. We're straight up, just like our spirit. So we wanted to speak to you guys from a women's perspective and women who work in a very male-dominated industry. I thought tonight, since we just had Crown Day, a celebration, that maybe we could talk a little bit about the Crown Act, because I was surprised how many people didn't know about it. It's something that's really important, and it seems quite shocking to people that don't understand the need, that there's a need for something like that. And I thought that would be a really good way to start our conversation. So for those of you that don't know, the Crown Act, and it's CROWN, it's a California law. It started in California, and it prohibits discrimination based on the hairstyle or hair texture of a person. And so this, of course, it stemmed from discrimination against people of color for their hair. Now, that may sound like, what the hell?
Right.
Yes. Yes. And I know that we kind of touched on it, right, Chastity, last time, like hair is such a part of your identity. And I think way more so when you come from a certain ethnicity.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us exactly, for the people that don't know, tell us exactly what this Crown Act is.
So basically, your job, your employer cannot discriminate against you for your hairstyle. They cannot tell you how to wear your hair. They can't tell you how not to wear your hair. You can't be removed from a business because of your hair, because that used to happen. And so Crown Day, July 3rd, celebrates that. And so, we say celebrate your crown, which is your hair. And bless you.
Thank you.
Celebrate wearing it however the hell you want to.
Exactly.
And if you don't like someone else's hair, too bad.
Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the ramifications and some specific acts that led to the necessity of this bill. So, for example, there was an 11-year-old girl. She was actually told that she needed to go and leave school because her braids, she was an African-American little girl, her braids were against school policy. Another star athlete who was a wrestler was forced to shave off his dreadlocks or else he was not able to compete at the national championships.
That was
right.
That made me hot.
There was also, unfortunately, young children who were not able to attend graduation because of that. And so the Crown Act is about, it protects braids, locks, and twist.
And natural hair. It also includes natural hair too. Yeah,
exactly. So it's basically saying that, because the texture is associated with certain ethnicities and races, for them to wear their hair naturally and for you to say that it's against company code or school policy is massively discriminatory. And so that's why it was propelled and started in California. It's now adopted in 4 states. So it's New York, New Jersey, California, and Virginia just adopted it.
More now, actually. I just read this morning. Oh. It's even more, and certain cities have enacted it outside of their states. So it's more than you can count on your hands, which is wonderful. It needs to be a national period.
It's crazy that this has to even be a thing.
Yeah.
Something that naturally grows out of your scalp.
Right.
If you can't wear your natural hair because of its texture, it's just crazy to me. I've never, as a Black woman, fortunately, I've never had to experience that. I mean, I have stories about people being, questioning my hair and touching my hair when I have permission to. I have stories like that, but no stories as far as school or being at work, there being a problem with how I wore my hair. So that's just.
The hair touching is a whole other issue that is something that people don't. And it is a similar thing happened to me when I started getting tattooed. For some reason, people think having a tattoo gives you permission for them to touch me. Oh. And I remember being in college and girls are very touchy-feely with each other, especially our hair, we'll braid each other's hair and we'll brush each other's hair. But there comes a point when, I don't know you. You don't get to touch my hair. And I think you have to learn that as you become an adult. And in college, this girl comes into class and she was very exasperated. She said, I'm so sick of people touching my hair. And I was like, what do you mean? She was an African-American girl. Well, it's, she had beautiful, beautiful curls. Just white girls want to touch my hair. And I was like, in that context, I was like, no, no, you can't just touch someone without asking.
And your hair holds so much energy that you don't want someone invading your space and touching you like that. So
absolutely.
I've had it. Oh yeah, new hairstyle. Let me touch it. No.
Well, I also think about how much of like an emotional attachment and connection, especially as women, have with our hair, right?
Yeah.
Like we all know like the term, it was like, it's not a breakup, it's a breakover. And it's like your first step is to your hairdresser.
Your hair. Yep.
You want a new haircut to, be like symbolize that there's a new chapter for you.
Right.
And then also, the other thing that I find so troubling is that when you're asking young kids or young adults in the workforce, or even, grown adults, right, that in order for them to keep their job or be promoted up or to be taken seriously in grad school or university, you have to chemically process your hair. You have to put damaging chemicals in your hair that it could be a very painful process. From what my girlfriends have relayed to me, it's very expensive, it's time consuming, and the maintenance of it, so I mean that's another sort of kind of like, adding salt, to the wound, for that.
There's also religion is something you have to take into consideration as well, because there are some religions that don't allow women to cut their hair. So that's a whole other discussion too, but nonetheless, so they will wear their hair long because of that. There are some religions that dreadlocks are sacred to them. Some religions where men wrap their hair. And so it's a violation of your religion as well. So it's just, I've had a lot of issues with my hair growing up as my identity. And we touched on this a little bit last time. My hair didn't look like the white girl's hair. My hair looked a lot more like the little black girls in school, and they understood what to do with my hair better than I did. And that was, until I learned how to do something with it, until I learned how to straighten it chemically or with a hair straightener or whatever. I had this hair that made me not fit in and made me feel like I was kind of in an in-between place, like, and it wasn't attractive. It wasn't considered attractive to have frizzy, they used to call me frizzy froey hair, whatever. And then going in, when I finally was just like, I'm going to take control of my hair, it's such an important part of my identity, I started coloring it. And I actually got told several times that I had to color my hair. It had to be a natural color to keep my job.
Was this in the spirit industry or corporate?
This is in both, actually.
Interesting.
Yes. I was working at a very high-end restaurant in a hotel. I won't say the name of it. And they said, you cannot have pink streaks in your hair. And I'm like, who the hell cares about my pink streaks? Nobody cares. It's hair. I'm, my abilities are the same. My knowledge is the same. My experience is the same. Nope. I had to color it or I couldn't keep the job. And so I did, because I had to keep the job, I guess. Now I would fight it tooth and nail because I'm older and wiser. And now I could cite the Crown Act. But yeah, that's something that's just not acceptable as well, as, people who constantly want to judge others for their appearances. I mean, that's a major issue, but what I think a lot of white people don't understand is that is much more so for women of color, for people of color. You are judged on your dress, your skin, your hair, everything. Your appearance is first, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes last when it shouldn't be. And that's something that I think we're beginning to work on that. I think, a lot of the work that's been done for plus size models, a lot of the work, and I hate the word plus size. I really, average size, natural size women and men, that's the beginning, right? But to get to the point where you don't have the right to say whether you think someone's appearance is professional or not is absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. Unless you're being like X-rated or something, or you're physically dirty. I can't imagine how you have the right to judge what is professional and what isn't these days is absurd.
And just to touch on the fact that, those so-called standards of society, that there's a certain look that you need in a professional setting has held me back from embracing my natural hair. My mom gave me a perm at a very young age because my hair is so thick and coarse that I would cry whenever she tried to do my hair. And so, back then, they didn't have all these products for hair. And so she didn't know what to do with it, but to put this perm in it to make it straight and manageable. So, here I go, all these years, thinking that I had to have straight hair to be accepted in a professional setting. And I did for so long. It wasn't up until maybe about 5-6 years ago that I stripped my hair of the perm, and it's still recovering. You think we're talking 32 years. How am I going to be 38 next week? Yeah, so 32 years I've had this chemical in my hair.
Yeah.
That I am still healed. My hair is still healing from this. But again, because I thought I had to keep my hair straight to be accepted. Which is, why should I feel that way? So I'm still learning to embrace my natural hair. And although I have a weave today, a protective style during this summer heat.
Yes. That just makes you smart.
But yeah, for years I straightened my hair still, just trying to have a professional look.
I had the same problem growing up as you, Chastity. My mother didn't know what to do with my hair. I have my father's hair. My mother has, her hair is like yours, May. You have like almost identical hair. Well, she used to. I have my father's hair, which hormone changes affects your hair too. So I don't have the hair I used to. But she would find stuff in it, like little toys stuck in there would be like old rubber bands that I wouldn't let her brush out. So she'd eventually have to cut them out, but then she would just like cut like this. So I'd have like ball, but it was just and she would just cut it so short. I looked like a boy. And we need to do this for the next show is we need to get, pictures, childhood pictures. And I will show you guys legitimately. I had to ask my mother if I was born a boy or not. I was like, why did you dress me like that? What was wrong? Why am I constantly in these like jean suits with short hair? Like, what is going on? But she's like, I didn't know what to do with your hair. And, it wasn't until I was 7 years old and I would go roller skating with this little girl around the corner on the block from me. They were the only Black family on the block, and her mother was just outraged at my hair. And so, she's like, come over here. All her daughters would line up and she would do the hot press comb. This was the 70s.
Wow.
And she did my hair. And I just remember going to the roller rink and I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm a goddess. And of course, my mother washes it and I wouldn't let her wash it. I fought her for days and it's gone, and I have my crazy hair back. But when she's doing it, she's like, who cuts your hair? My mother. It's very much a very big part of your identity, especially for a woman.
Yeah.
I have been known to do a really mean hair flip. I'm not gonna lie. And there is some power in that. And that's another thing that I think also as women is a lot of our femininity, a lot of our sexual allure, our desirability is also associated with our hair as well too. And, I had a little bit of a rebellion. So I've always had straight hair and I was going to do the perm. I really was. I was going to do the perm because you know how it is. When you have straight hair, you want curly hair. When you have curly hair, you want straight hair, right? You want anything other than you do.
Yeah.
So, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. We've spoken about this. And there was a bunch of girls and they were like a little rough, right? And so at that time, there was a style where you would basically pull your hair like this and they would shave the underside.
I had that.
So when your hair is down, you looked normal. And then when you pulled it up, you were like, I'm a rebel bad girl.
I'm a Brooklyn badass.
I'm a Brooklyn badass. And I remember I signed up for it. And the girls, I'll never forget this. They looked at me and they said, "You're a good girl. We're not going to do this." And
no.
These are 13-year-olds. Because I was like 12, right?
Yeah.
And the research one was 15. But I just think it's so funny that even at that age, they knew that it was going to mark me, right? In some way. And I should have
good friends.
Now I'm like sweating in LA, and I think I need to do that. Like I think I need to do it now. So when
I've thought about it recently too. Yeah, like shaving the one. Oh, I shaved my entire head once.
Oh my! I've been.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about cutting all my hair off. Actually,
I buzzed it down to bald. I wanted to know what it was like. I was a little angry, we'll say. I was rebelling for sure. But I also I think I was rebelling against myself and my connection with my hair is the only thing that, like you said, that makes me feminine. My hair is my identity. My hair is I don't know. I think it was a very unhealthy relationship I had with my own hair. So I shaved my whole head, and we were in Florida, and I wish my friend Gina was watching right now. I jumped into the pool after, and I was like, this feels incredible. And we had a few beers. And I was very good with it that night. And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh God. But I had to learn. And it's a very interesting experiment. How do you find your femininity and your identity when you don't have hair? So I was wearing a lot of berets at the time. It was the 90s. Then when I would take it off, people would think I had cancer. And that was a little weird. I remember I was at a Waffle House and the waitress almost started crying. And I was like, I'm fine. I just shaved my head. Like, oh my God. And
did
then when
waffles tell the truth, Taylor?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Did you like free waffles?
No,
here's free waffles.
I said her straight. I should have kept my mouth shut and gotten the damn free waffles, but I didn't. I'll take that. And some eggs smothered, covered, and I forget what all the things are. And so I learned, and as it grew back in, I started dyeing it different colors, and then I had the little when it was like this long, I'd take little barrettes, like I'm a girl, I swear. It was weird. It's I highly recommend it, honestly, though, because you find yourself in a different way. But I was very young at the time and I could get away with it. I don't know, gosh, I don't even remember what I was doing for work at the time that they didn't care. I can't remember. But think about that. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not.
Why?
I've been thinking about. Well, I don't think I would shave it bald, but I would definitely cut it short. But yeah,
you find out if you have a nice shaved head or not when you shave. I look like a 12-year-old Thai boy. I cannot. Anything shorter than my shoulder. We have issues because, like, do you remember when there was like the lob, right? So it's like the long bob, and I was like, oh my God, that's so chic. I would love to do that. And then I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna start wearing like high-waisted pants and like some real baggy t-shirts, and we're gonna talk about this. And I don't think I've ever had my hair super short. Part of me would love to just go, kind of shave a ball and have your experience and kind of know what that freedom is like. Because how much time? Okay, here's a question: how much time does it take for you ladies to get ready in the morning with your hair?
Oh, well, right now, 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, same. Right now,
if I was doing my real hair, it still wouldn't take long because I don't like to put much heat in my hair. Maybe about 10 minutes.
Oh God, not me. It used to take me like 45 minutes.
Now, if I was to wash it and blow dry it and straighten it and do all that, it's going to take me a few hours.
Yeah. I grew it long though, so that I didn't have to mess with it. And
when do you guys feel the most like attractive, you know, in terms of like a good hair day? Like what's a great hair day where you're like,
freshly done. When I come fresh from the beauty shop, I have an appointment next Tuesday. Can't wait. But yeah, that's when it's or sometimes when it gets a little old too, because sometimes after a fresh wash, you need it to get a little old.
Yeah, you gotta it's gotta age a little bit, right? Yeah, you get to that. Same with me. Like if I really take the time to, it's so long now, and I've gotten to the point where, I mean, it happened when I got out of the shower. I didn't do anything to it, and my husband looks at me and goes, he was like all about it, and I'm like, okay, done. That's easy. So when I do it now, I have to blow dry it, and then I have to take the curling iron and I make like the 1940s waves, and I'm just like, okay, but then I'll get that frizz halo. So that like third day is where it's at.
Third day. How about you?
Seriously, right after I get out of my stylist chair, I don't know what she does.
Yep.
I try to mimic her. I buy the brushes that she tells me.
You can't.
I buy all that stuff. And the terrible part is this woman has like running secrets on me because I've known her for so many years that like I forget things I tell her, and then I sit in her chair and I'm like, how did you remember this? And you know, that's another thing too, is like when you have someone that you see for 45 minutes, an hour 15, and it feels good to have someone like wash your hair and put your
positive touch.
It. And exactly positive touch. Yeah. And it's like, it's such a personal relationship too.
I was a hairdresser, you guys. I owned a salon.
No.
It was one of the few breaks I've ever taken from this industry. I opened a salon in Connecticut. It was called Hot Rock and Dye, DYE, and it was super fun. It was a terrible experience, but also an amazing experience. Which is terrible because running a business sucks.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard. And I opened it like 2 weeks before the crash in 2008. But I met so many amazing people and that very dear friends that are still in my life. But I love the creativity of it, but I am not built to be someone's hair therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, man, that got taxing. And also, you know, like the craziness that would go on was just insane. You know, I would like my hair to be red, and I had to learn to go, okay, what does red look like to you? And give them all these options, and they'd point to something that was not red, and I'm like, okay, at least we're on the same page now. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic too much, but yeah, hair, man, none of anybody's business but your own. I think that's.
I think there's like a certain, I don't want to say baseline standard, but like we were talking about hygiene, right? So it's like hygiene wise. And I think to me, professional just means that you care about your hygiene and you care about representing excellence for yourself and your company. And I think that also depends on what your company culture is, because like, you know, for example, if you work in certain industries that are really creative, like you're a makeup artist, you know, you're a tattoo artist, right? It's kind of celebrated having that individuality, you know? Yeah. And, you know, as for us, it's like, you know, we work in spirits and we run the gamut of the meetings that we have, right?
What is this thing? Let's explore that for a second, because that's an excellent point. What is the standard in the whiskey business? So are you at a distributor meeting? Are you standing in front of people at a whiskey tasting, but what people? Like what type of there that runs the gamut as well. Are you at a bar? Are you behind the bar? Are you running into liquor stores? Like those are so many different outfits. Right? Those are so many different looks. You know, is what would be considered professional at a distributor meeting, you're not going to be behind a bar like that. You might not even be at a whiskey tasting. I don't know, you know, what is?
I think it's unanswered because I think that, you know, for us, we're coming up on a generation where it's becoming more and more visible to have women being suppliers, right? Because we just touched upon this before, whereas before we work in a very male-dominated industry, especially for brown spirits, especially American brown spirits, right?
Yes.
And I don't think that there was sort of that discussion, before. And I think it also depends on the brand that you work for, because, of course, we know at like certain brands, there's a lookbook where, you as a brand ambassador are supposed to shop for your suits at only certain designers. There's a certain color scheme. Because when you're a brand ambassador, you're supposed to be the living embodiment of that spirit and, that lifestyle and, what that spirit's, how they want that spirit to live in that world. So I think it also depends on that. And you have to read your room. And, the great thing about us working for Uncle Nearest is we were all individually handpicked. And we were not handpicked just based off of our CV or our resumes, but also the integrity that we have as people, and who we are. And, whether we adhere also by our company values. And, one of them is, if we can't do it with excellence, we don't do it at all. So I think that when we come into a room with excellence, and I think that we're all experienced enough and smart enough to really know our audience, really be able to read the rooms and be able to represent ourselves and Uncle Nearest, to the best of our abilities. With that said, I'm going to wear neon colored scrunchies now to my next high-end meeting.
I love it.
I just want you all to know it's happening.
But it's everyone's perception, and that's kind of the point of the discussion of discrimination, is your idea of someone looking professional and put together is different than his idea or her idea or your idea. Everyone has a different idea. Some people think a golf shirt and khaki pants is professional, and other people would, well, you immediately, I'm
being judgy. I'm being judgy.
But it's so subjective. Is the point is it's so subjective. So who are you to decide that for someone else? I think, is the issue as a whole, to discriminate against someone for the way they look based on anything, their outfit, the color of their skin, their hair, their shoes, whatever it is. You are in no position. I mean, think about when you watch. We were just watching some disaster show. We're like obsessed with watching all the disaster shows because right now you're like, whatever.
So we're so close.
Oh my God, totally. It's gonna happen anyway. Who cares?
It's happening anyway, right?
Yeah. So we're watching about some like the when the earthquake happens on the fault line and the whole entire Pacific coast goes away or whatever is going to happen. And this scientist is speaking, and she literally looks like someone walked into 1976 and said, freeze, picked her up, took her in a time machine and plopped her down. Like, she has her clothes, her hair is insane. And she is the foremost expert on whatever field of seismology specifically she works in. And she's interviewed, and she's very well respected. She does not, to me, look professional or well-kept. But apparently, in science, nobody cares. Cool. Well, let's all get there.
You're allowed to be an eccentric.
Let's all normalize that.
I think the issue is when you use the veil of professionalism to discriminate against a hair texture or style that is associated with a culture, with the natural texture of a certain ethnicity, or with religious associations. That's when you get, because here's the thing, people do terrible things in the name of good reasons.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to. So instead of saying, I don't feel comfortable hiring someone of this demographic, you're going to say, she came in with her hair and her hairstyle that looked like this. And the truth was, that was her hair in her natural state, chemically unprocessed, right? That is the issue. And I think that's what the Crown Act really specifically zeroes in on. Us as women in the spirit industry, we're still figuring it out, and we also work for a company that doesn't really do a lot of things by the books.
Nope.
Because we're outliers. We are outliers. I mean, there's a reason why we're the fastest growing independent spirit company. That is also the most awarded whiskey of 2019. And we just turned 3 years old, and there's a reason for that. And It's because I think our leaders, have taken the model of what was done before and said, does it have to be that way? And why?
Right.
And can it be better? And let's try some other things and what works for us. So it's like, I've never had a conversation, even when I used to work in really fine dining, I was told I had to put my hair in a bun.
Yes.
And part of that is also hygiene reasons, right? Because you're serving food, you're serving cocktails. You don't want your hair to touch someone's cocktail food.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I was fine with that.
That's hygiene,
so hair in a bun, super minimal makeup.
Yep.
Really unassuming studs. I had to wear a button-down white shirt, a French apron, pants and flats. And I remember feeling so like who I was so stifled, but I understood that part of that was on purpose because they didn't want you to have a personality.
Nope.
Because this was a super high-end place where it was a certain
you're supposed to be a nondescript servant.
Right.
Let's just be real. You're supposed to be, you're supposed to just blend in with everybody else and be the nondescript hand that brings you food and drink.
Right. And to be unobtrusive.
Right. Okay. Again, that's a guise for saying we need you to be replaceable and nobody will notice. We need you to all be wallpaper and we want people to come here for our food and drink, not for you.
Not for you. Yep.
That is one of the biggest mistakes that places like that make. And I've worked in the same, I've worked in the same type of places and that is a mistake because my customers have followed me through years and other states. And some of them are still in touch with me on social media and still would follow me anywhere because of me, not because that place isn't even open anymore. That's what that is you're supposed to be an unassuming servant that looks like everyone else. And that sucks.
Right. But you're supposed to be highly skilled though. So you have to be a highly skilled one. You're supposed to know the menu inside out. You're supposed to anticipate all of your guest needs before. And to me, that's also just good service. But you have to do it in a way where you have to be the most incredible and visible person. And I understand the reasoning for it. But I also feel like you said, you're really losing an opportunity because a lot of what we do is our human touch contact on how we make people feel welcomed and how we make people feel like they are, beloved guests. When we do tastings, when we do meetings, right? It's like there's this sense of like excitement and passion. And it's like we want to light that fuse and that spark in you. We're not just here to tell you a story by rote. And, a part of that is like who we are as individuals. But it's interesting because at the other end, when I worked, in nightclubs and it was like, we were told to like va-va-va-voom everything and, all this other stuff. And that was because they were selling a different type of service, and you have that. So like as female brand ambassadors for a major whiskey company, do you feel like you're very hyper aware of your physical appearance, your hairstyle, what you wear before you go into meetings? Like, do you have to make extra considerations?
No, I don't.
I love you,
sure that I'm always presentable. I mean, my mom taught me, when you look good, you feel good. So regardless what I'm doing or where I'm going, I make sure that I look good before I leave the house. And so when I go into a meeting, I use that same advice that my mom always gives me. So I'm not going to wear some jeans and a t-shirt. No, I'm not going to do that. That's not what I would normally do anyway. I'm not a jeans and t-shirt girl. But I do take pride in my appearance, and I like to look good. So, and it makes me feel good. So I want to feel good and I want to be confident when I go into these meetings. But I'm also going to be myself. And my uncle near is working for this company. We don't have a dress code or standards of how we should go into the market because of our individualities and and whatnot. So I'm very comfortable when I go out to my meetings representing the company as Chastity and not as, someone else, because this is the look that I'm supposed to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, I've just been in this industry for so long and came from a time where I would be the only woman I would see for maybe weeks, months. I wouldn't interact with other women unless they happened to be behind the bar, maybe. So I think I was trying to just assimilate as best I could to be accepted. And so I probably went even farther being dressed as something that I thought was acceptable. Like, well, I'm not really supposed to be here as a woman, but I'm here kind of crap, But now I do not care. I have earned all of it. I've earned everything because I've worked my ass off and I've been through hell and back. And I've been through, and it's only a couple years since I've had my butt pinched at a whiskey tasting. Oh, yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. Disgusting comments made, mansplaining, talking down to, the mansplaining still happens.
That happens all the time.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God.
It happened to me just here last winter. I got mansplained and I was like, sir, you really don't want to go. I didn't say it like that, but that's what was happening in my head. Like, you don't want to do this because I can wipe the floor with you, but since you're my guest, I'm going to be really nice and I'm going to let you just have your piece and go, okay, move along. But, and that's another part of the problem that we have is that affects how we express ourselves. It affects how we carry ourselves, where we're comfortable, where we're not. I can tell you that if you're a man coming to one of my whiskey tastings, you're going to have a better time. You're going to enjoy yourself more if you don't interrupt me. If you don't try to assert your information over mine. I literally work for the brand. Obviously, one should hope I know more about the brand than you do. I do this every day. I probably know a little bit more about whiskey than you do. Mm-hmm. Fair assessment, right? Since it's my job. Do you go back into the kitchen and tell the chef, no, do it this way, do it that way? Like, come on, or tell your dentist how to clean your teeth. It would be you wouldn't think to do that because, so having more women in the industry definitely helps that. Seeing less women in bikinis handing out liquor, calling themselves brand ambassadors certainly helps that.
Yeah.
Boobs hanging out and whatever, and they know nothing about the brand, but they're just handing out samples. I think we're very close to those days being far behind us. That helps.
Well, I think it depends on what kind of spirit you are, because I'm not going to call out the types, but they tend to be clear. I'm just saying.
No, as I said it, you're right. No, but I think that it's going to change now that we have more women in production roles. It will certainly change. So imagine, for example, our company, how the women in our company would never hire a girl in a bikini to hand out Uncle Nearest.
Never.
Now, no matter how much, and this might sound really sexist, but we're having a frank discussion here, right? I want to say that if a man was running this company and perhaps he thought, well, if we go into that type of place and that's where what the other brands are doing and that's what people are responding to and would they, even though they would know it wasn't the best thing for the brand, would they still consider it? I think they might, right?
I think it depends on whether you're a premium spirit, ultra premium spirit. And the thing is, we don't need to.
No, of course not.
We don't need to. We have, what do we have, like 90 awards, right? It's like, I feel like, woo-hoo! Sorry,
I think it's either a mentality or it's not. I don't think it has anything to do with the brand. You would either consider doing that or you wouldn't. It's a mentality. It has nothing to do with the type, because I've seen it.
Sex sales, and they want to sell the product based on the visual of a woman, and we don't have to do that.
And there's a lot of high-end brands, luxury brands. Again, I won't name names.
I'm sure we're probably going to name.
I've been there. I've seen it myself.
I think it also depends on if you are also aiming at a certain demographic. That if you're a brand that wants to do bottle service, or you're a brand that wants to do like summer parties, cabanas, haciendas, like stuff like that, maybe. I mean, you know what?
I've seen luxury brands do it, and
I've seen them do
it's shocking, but they do it. I just think their days are numbered. I think that stuff is not going to be around much longer in the industry. Also, who's drinking the spirit has changed. And what type of advertising is normal now and what isn't. What's a little, if you do see that type of a bikini clad girl in high heels handing out shots, you might take that shot, but you also probably know, you might do that for a minute, like, ugh, or, that, because it's not so common anymore, right?
Yeah.
So that becomes not the norm, and that's what we want to happen.
We'll see a couple of brands doing it. Well, prior to COVID, I could think of two that do it all the time. And no shade. If that's what works for you, hey, by all means. But I'm happy to work for a brand that we don't have to do those types of things.
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to work for a brand that respects my intellectual property as opposed to my physical body, right? Like what I have to offer and my experience and my knowledge and my talents as opposed to what I look like. And I think that, when we wrap up the conversation, one of the things I wanted to ask each of you is, what do you think is the way forward, or are you doing things to, now that so much has been exposed, everyone is experiencing, oh my gosh, I didn't know this person that I'm Facebook friends with was a racist, or Instagram friends with, or Twitter on my Twitter feed or whatever, or this star, this famous person or this actor, whomever, but also having that rear its head inside our industry. What can be done, do you think, moving forward to make sure that we are being very diligent and alert about those things inside our industry and helping to make this industry more inclusive and more diverse on our level? Like, we know what our company's doing, but what can we do? Have you guys been doing anything during this period to speak to that?
I've been in a place where I'm just still shell-shocked and gathering information. Like I was so unaware of what I didn't know and I thought I knew, and, I just had a conversation with my girlfriend and I was like, I thought I understood the plight of my other, people that I hold dear who are of color. I do not. When I saw the video, I couldn't even really watch it. I'm talking about, of course, the George Floyd murder, and that's exactly what it was. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's ripped my world apart because I had no clue how vulnerable it was on a daily, day-to-day existence in big cities, small towns, other countries, all over the world. And, talking to our other Uncle Nearest colleagues, just knowing the conversations that they have to have with their children if they are a child, if they're a parent of a Black child, And we actually had a conversation after hours, after our last show, and I learned something, and I said, something about being an Asian American woman is that, I've been able to, in ways, slip under the radar. And I thought that wasn't a point of privilege. And we had a great conversation where you guys pointed out to me that is actually privilege, just because it wasn't preferential treatment, right? Mm-hmm. The fact that I was able to skate by or to be under the radar and not be necessarily aggressively targeted, because I have been targeted for racial unfortunately, on the short end of that before, but I didn't associate that with privilege. And you guys were able to really explain how it was. And that was really illuminating for me. So like I'm continuing to learn. And what I think I can do is I think I need to set an example of how I am in the world, because representation, just by me existing, you know, as Maylee, as a brand ambassador in a major market, you know, for Uncle Nearest, you know, it's like just my existence within the company and how I hold myself and, you know, how I present myself is that visibility, you know, I think is going to also open up doors for other people who never would consider themselves having an opportunity in spirits, because I actually kind of overtrust a bit. Part of that is because I'm a New Yorker. We freaking overtrust for everything, you know? And the other part of it was I felt like I needed an extra sense of legitimacy. Not because I didn't have the knowledge or the bona fides or the experience or the relationships. I just knew that I was going to be the only Asian female. Like not only female, I knew I was going to be the only Asian one. And so when I would meet with hospitality groups, you know, and even though these are people I have relationships with, I like wore like beautifully tailored like theory suits and like, you know, my Stella McCartney heels or whatever. And part of that was in my mind, you know, paying an extra degree of attention to detail for the level of the meeting. I think another part was a little bit of armor, because I knew I was going to be put through the ringer. I knew I was, especially as a person who represented a young brand. And I knew I was. And so I needed that like extra, I guess you would say kind of like, you know, armor of war, you know, to kind of get into it. And, you know, unfortunately, like that's where my mindset was. So yeah, sorry, that's a very roundabout long answer.
So learning. So that's what, so you're learning and discovering.
I'm learning because I'm not at the point where I feel confident or capable of teaching, you know, and I think that's a great place to be, is to be like, I'm a little disoriented right now. What I thought I knew was true has crumbled under my feet. What I thought I knew about myself and the society I live in has been turned upside down. Let me be in this place of not knowing, and let me gather as much experiences and firsthand accounts from the people that I care about, and maybe people who are my contemporaries that I don't know so well. And like, how can I put that together, and like, how can I digest that, and how can I bring that out into the best iteration of myself and how I represent myself in this world?
Well, what I'm doing is there's always, you know, so much to do. And sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough. But what I am actively doing on a consistent basis is holding space to have these conversations, and having conversations with friends and family, you know, that just want to vent and share their feelings and talk about the issues and, you know, what we could possibly do. I haven't participated in any protesting or anything like that, but I think holding space for people is important.
I
think it's very important.
And you guys did that for me. Because, you know, I said to you ladies, I was like, I'm so glad we had this conversation, because it was a safe place for us, for all three of us. Because it's anxiety provoking for the person who's pointing it out. It's because you don't know how it's going to be received, you know, and we're close, you know, we're not just colleagues, you know, and we're family. And it was like, it was done in a way where it was like, I never felt shame. I didn't feel cornered. I didn't feel tisk that I didn't know, because I just I didn't have that perspective. And I wasn't part of those conversations before. And you ladies did that for me. And then I took that and I was like, hold on a second. This completely shifted my paradigm. How can I how does this make sense to me now? Because now I see how completely true it was. That privilege does not just mean preferential.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it goes to, and I think the reason why it was so easy for me to have that discussion with you is because I did the same thing. I learned how to assimilate and I pass as white, whatever the hell I'm considered, I don't know, but still undetermined. If we look it up, Egyptian isn't a thing. But you know, I wasn't when I was younger, and I had to learn that that was a privilege that I got to assimilate, and that I look and appear white, and I have lived under all of that privilege. Um, you know, so I have decided that I have to take that and do good with it. So for me, I got together with some other brand ambassadors from other brands and other people in the industry, and we are working on some initiatives ourselves to promote diversity and inclusion on our level in the industry, and also to hold space for discussions like this, and also space for really difficult discussions that I believe white people need to be having right now. That is not a burden that people of color, you've had enough of that burden for so long. It's time for us to pick up that work. Um, you know, as we talked about, seeing people outing themselves, basically, which you know, as either being very prejudiced or very racist. And you know, the talks have to happen in our industry, and it has to start somewhere. And so and just using my social media platform to educate in ways that
Great
seem.
job of doing that.
Thank you so much. It's not been easy, you know. I had one of my first viral posts happen on July 3rd, or I can't. It was the post that I made about. No, it was the post I made about when President Trump spoke at Mount Rushmore. And so I decided to take the whole 4th of July period, and I won't celebrate that holiday because for me, who I am, I was not free. That doesn't speak to my freedom. It doesn't speak to everyone's freedom. And I think we need to celebrate a holiday that speaks to everyone's freedom. So I decided to just use my platform to learn, because I have to learn to write those posts. I have to read and research, and I try really hard to make sure they are absolutely argue proof, that I have all my facts, I have all my resources, I can cite everything so that you can't punch any holes in. And I'm not necessarily giving my opinion all the time. It's sometimes just plain facts, and people get very angry at that and they want to argue with me, and I'm like, yo man, these are just facts, dude. I didn't write this. I didn't make this up. This is legitimately history that's happened. And so the post went viral about the Native American protests. And it was a rough weekend, I'll tell you. I took a lot of damage. I had to delete 60 something responses, comments, because they were public. I would do back and forth with people, then I would just get exhausted and be like, I'm blocking you, I'm done. I got tired at some point and changed it to friends only after, you know, it went viral to thousands of people. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. My work here is done. But I can take that. You know, you can't hurt me by, you know, talking crap to me on the internet. This doesn't hurt me. Yeah. So this is work I can do. I feel like it's within my grasp. I don't mind doing it. It's so like, okay, that's something I can do. Having these discussions. And I think it feels good. It feels within my grasp. It feels like it's within my knowledge base to just put together some facts and some images, and maybe sometimes I put a little bit of my opinion in there as well. It's my space. I can do whatever the hell I want with it. So, you know, you can argue all you want, but whatever. Yeah, that's just me. It kind of feels like it's me going out to a protest every day. I get to do that work, you know, and if one person learned something and is less prejudiced, I don't think I'm going to change anyone's racist point of view. It has happened. Not with me, but I've literally seen this happen when you watch these documentaries on KKK members that have left, and what was that pivotal point that made them leave? It can happen. So there's hope. But that's not my goal. My goal is to just give out the facts and the information. And I've seen a lot of responses like, wow, I didn't know that. Oh gosh, I didn't know that. Like, yeah, does everybody know how reservations work? Does everyone know what a land treaty is? Does everybody understand what just happened in Oklahoma, that half of the state was just awarded to Native Americans?
Yeah,
right. Hawaii, I decided on 4th of July to post about Hawaii, the island of Hawaii, because I didn't really understand that history. I didn't know that it was literally a U.S. invasion. Literally. Mm-hmm. The most literal, it was a U.S. invasion, and one man who owned the Dole company, Dole Fruit, whatever, they have everything now, appointed himself president. Before that, it was a territory, a country like any other. I didn't know this. It was very eye-opening to me to read about how Hawaii was taken away, and how we came to own it. It's all interesting, and it's all really important for us to know. When we understand our role as invaders and oppressors, we will understand our role as oppressors inside our country as well, to our own people. So, yeah.
Lots of work to be done.
Lots of work to be done.
Thank you to both of you ladies for dedicating yourselves to get the work done.
Thank you. Thank you guys thanks Chastity for being with us. And, when I feel very comfortable that I can ask you certain questions. We talked about, we've discussed before, African-American versus Black person or Black American. Very, very, very important distinction. We've talked about capitalizing the word Black when you're referring to a Black American. And I can ask you these questions and I feel comfortable. And I know that even if I've maybe perhaps asked something offensive, I know you won't take it like that, because I'm asking to learn. And that's really, really important. And I cherish that and I appreciate it.
Here for my sisters. I love y'all.
Well, thanks, ladies. This was once again so fun. My cocktail is just about empty.
Yeah, mine is empty.
So I'm going to pour another one though. So, so everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate you all being here, and we will definitely do this again. In the meantime, please check with your local liquor stores. And if you don't see Uncle Nearest on the shelf, you can help us. You can help your favorite brand, and you can literally say, hey, would you mind ordering some Uncle Nearest whiskey? And they can order it, because we are distributed in every state in the entire US. And it's a simple click of a button for them. Yep. If you cannot go out or do not want to go out right now, please stay safe and check if your liquor store delivers. Some states do. There's also Drizzly, DRIZLY. Drizzly delivers depending on your location. We have to-go cocktails all over the country. If you're in a state that has recently allowed that, you can get a to-go cocktail from your favorite bar or restaurant that has Uncle Nearest. Just ask them. And if you're at home quarantining, which is a smart thing to do right now, you can go to our website, unclenearest.com, and you can click on shop, and you can get Uncle Nearest sent to your home with free shipping. The code is Liquid Gold. I try to say it like Mac, and Liquid Gold.
Yeah, but Mac has a gold microphone. So
he's got the most expensive Yeti on the market. And then he's got that voice. Because when he calls me, I'm like, just keep talking, Mac. Just keep talking. He's got one of those radio voices,
He does. He totally does.
So what's up next? What's today? Monday? So we have Must See Whiskey TV on Thursday this week, and I believe it's the Whiskey Dads will be on, and they're taking a racial bias training class, correct? I think that's what they're doing. So yeah.
Are they doing it on air? No, right?
Yes.
They are.
Yeah. Their guest is going to come back and actually they're going to do a training. So it should be really interesting. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. So we will see you guys here again Thursday then. And just keep your eyes out, you guys. Every week we have broadcasts like this, and we love when you join us, and we appreciate you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And drink honorably.
Drink honorably, guys. I'm empty, but I drank honorably.
That's all right. We drank honorably. Bye, all. Thanks,
Bye,
Andre.
everyone. Thank you.